Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Dr. Fred Petito joining us. So excited to have him here from Attain Leadership. He's the founder and owner from New York, helping those, well, in the executive coaching world. So he's helping us with leadership, with skills, and of course, learning how to be more productive and overall successful. He's here and he's been for quite some time advising us and talking about how he can customize all this leadership for you. Let me have him do the introduction. I know we have some great notes in store for today. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jill. So for today, we're going to talk about team coaching, and really team development. And I know we've talked a couple of times in the past about marketing, and my expertise is in kind of on working with marketing leaders and marketing teams. And of course, team coaching is part of that. But team coaching is a big topic, and it's for any team. So this is beyond just kind of the marketer, marketing leader, marketing team. And team coaching has become, in the last maybe 2-3 years, really a hot topic in the coaching world for really good reason. Simple fact is most work in organizations happens on teams. And, with COVID and with just more and more teams working in these hybrid models, and also geographic, just the diversity. You have people, in Europe and in Asia and in the United States working together with all the, the advances in technology and Zooms and all that. More distributed teams is the norm. So it's a super important topic now. A lot of organizations take team health and team performance, take it for granted. So it's something that has been a little underserved, and I think it's a really good time to be talking about it.
Great. So we're going to talk the power of team coaching today, and just remind us of all the ways we can reach out to you, please.
Yeah, absolutely. AttainLeadership.com. Fred at Attain Leadership is my email, and I'm on LinkedIn. And absolutely, I'd love to hear from you.
Beautiful. All right. So let's talk. Why would you say teams are so important to businesses and, of course, the success and development of any team?
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying, most work happens in teams. Very few. If you're maybe a writer or an artist, maybe working kind of in an individual capacity. But anytime you're in any kind of organizational setting, all of a sudden you're on a team, and you may be on multiple teams. You may be on a functional team, you may be on a cross-functional team, you may be on a project team, you may be, the list goes on. And so team coaching is a thing. It's a big thing. It's a much different dynamic than individual executive coaching. Obviously you're focusing on the individual, their role in the organization, and how they interact and how they engage and how they lead. And that is a very different experience from team coaching. So when you are working with the team and coaching a team, all of a sudden you're coaching multiple personalities, and there's dynamics. There's these social system. It's like a social system, right? Any kind of any team that works together, by definition, you have more than one person working together, you're going to have some kind of relational dynamic. And even a group dynamic that you're going to have to work through. The goals become different. The types of engagements, the types of interventions, the types of coaching tactics you use are different. So it's a very exciting area, and it's a lot of organizations are learning now that it's an important thing to focus on. So that kind of what it is of team coaching and the why of team coaching. Again, it's much different than sitting down with an individual and elevating their self-awareness, or working on some skills, working on helping their, thinking more strategically, or bringing up, a more problem-solving mindset forward. Now you have that amplified by 6, 8, or 10 people if you have that many people on a team, and so it's a little bit more complex.
Got it. Well, I was going to also ask, yeah, the difference. So if you can share the difference with individual executive coaching compared to this, the group coaching, I would appreciate, or
Yeah.
the team, I should say.
Yeah, team, group.
Mhm.
I think I like to say when you're coaching a team, you need to come in and put a little bit of your like you kind of approach it almost like a sociologist or an anthropologist, right? It's there's the individual and individuals, but then you have the group dynamic. And I there's a process or model that I like to use that looks at kind of six dimensions of a team, right? The first is
Okay.
purpose and motivation. Is there a clear purpose and motivation for the team to exist? Now, sometimes you have a collective of people working and not really a team. They're just a kind of an assortment of people working on a project, but aren't functioning as a team. So that they have a common purpose and motivation, and is it clear to everyone,
Hmm.
and they share it? And many times they it isn't clear. They don't share it. They're not aligned, and that's where you start getting team members who are not maybe working together, and that's where you start getting some of the I hate to say dysfunction, but just not teams not operating at their full potential. So that's the first thing. Number one, purpose and motivation. The number two is kind of what the external processes and the external stakeholders they're supporting. Many times I've led many teams, built many teams in my career. You could have the most talented people, you could have the best process, you could have the best, deliverables and all that. Just really, really have your act together.
Yeah.
But if the way you're being engaged by your client external to the organization or your internal clients, stakeholders, if they're not engaging you in the right way, they don't understand kind of how to work with you or what to get from you or how to ask, um, you know, how to brief you, if you will.
Yeah.
That's a major problem. And many times,
Sure
it's
is.
not the team issue; it's the external issue, and it's how they interact. So that's the second thing. The third thing is relationships, right? The internal relationships on the team are really key, and if those are not working well because of politics, because of
Hmm.
subgroups, and sometimes you get a couple of people who want to kind of make it a little clubby and be a little exclusionary, and that's not a good thing for people. They don't feel motivated, they don't feel inspired, they don't feel engaged, and that sometimes also leads to a lot of problems. So that's the third, relationships. The fourth thing is internal systems and process. As I said before, we have external
Hmm.
systems and stakeholders. How are they engaging us, the
Yeah.
team? Well, how are we working internally? Are we have clear roles and responsibilities? People know what they're doing. They didn't know what to deliver. They didn't know how to deliver it. And many times, that's not really well defined. So that's what team coaching gets in, helps understand and uncover those things. Um, the next one, the fifth one, is learning and development. Are you cultivating team members? Are they learning from past experience? Are they learning from mistakes? Are they learning how to adapt to changing needs from your external stakeholders? And then finally, and not surprisingly, is leadership, right? If you don't have uh, good and clear, consistent leadership that models the right behavior,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a problem many times on the team because they just don't maybe either know what is expected of them, they don't know what the norms of behavior are, and that's where you start leading into some team performance issues.
Got it. All right. So, let's talk a little more about, some about failing. We were just talking about some people failing to reach expectations, but just going through the notes. So, do you want to get into more team coaching assignments? Do you want to kind of break it down for us, what you think and
Sure.
how we should put this together? And people
Yeah.
listening today, by the way, Dr. Fred Petito joining us, Attain Leadership. If you are just tuning in today's topic, we're here talking about the power of team coaching and what it can bring to the table, bring to the team, bring to the overall underlining success of your company, of everything, right? And
Absolutely.
individually making you feel good
Yeah,
too.
it's so important. Yeah, I mean, I've worked on one team coaching project I worked on where you had six different kind of directors of different functions in an organization working together. And you think about it, it's the search team, it's the social media team, there's all a marketing team, of course. analytics, the list goes on, and you have all these different directors reporting to a different functional leader, but then now they're part of a team. This is a very common scenario, a matrix, if you will. How do they, how do they know how to work together? And if you don't have a
Yeah.
clear vision and mission and a sense of accountability and trust among the members and good communication and all those things, if one or two of those things are missing, you start getting into underperforming team. But one of the couple of the biggest things that that I found are determine whether a team is successful or not. The first is the emotional intelligence of the leader, right? So
Okay.
if you have a good leader who may not be as like savvy on all these technical areas I just mentioned, but be a very emotionally intelligent leader, they know how to engage people, they have high self-awareness, they have high empathy, they know how to they know how to have good relationships with people on their teams, they know how to resolve conflict, they know how to navigate their organization. These are the things of emotional intelligence. But the research shows that if you have a leader with higher emotional intelligence, the team performs better. And they may have no experience in the stuff of the team, but it basically sets a tone for the team. And more research shows that the team actually models the behavior of that leader, right? They model that behavior, and the team follows that model, and they make it their new norm, right? So they have greater empathy, they have increased self-awareness, they're able to better self-manage, and one of the big things is also is these teams tend to have higher psychological safety, right? So the psychological safety is a big thing on a lot of teams. A lot of organizations, a lot of teams don't kind of have a lot of that going on. And what that means is that anyone on the team, a junior person, a mid-level person, or somebody who's new, feels confident and safe that they're able to express their opinion, express their voice, and have a stake in the process. So that's a really big that EQ, whatever you want to call it, is a big thing. The other thing is diversity and inclusivity.
Yeah.
Again, the research is clear that teams make better decisions than individuals, right? So when you got 4 or 5 or multiple voices, you don't want a cacophony of 100 voices, but when you have a manageable number of voices, and there's a process to consider them and to integrate the alternative points of view, you get better outcomes. And so when people talk about inclusivity and it's not just about managing diversity, it's about getting more voices and perspectives to weigh in on decisions and things that the team is doing, and those are things that really have a big impact also on team effectiveness. So again, emotional intelligence and inclusivity are really big at cultivating the trust that's important for teams. And also, there's this thing about positive intent, right? Teams that do well assume positive intent among their team members. And they also they kind of have a sense of accountability. I work that project I talked about. You have 6 different directors working on, or 8 different directors. I can't remember how many it was, working on a team as a team. Sometimes you have this silo mentality. One's like, that's not my job. It's their job.
True.
And they just pass the buck. When you're able to overcome that, you're able to get better performance.
Got it. And Fred, at this time, let's remind everyone all the ways we can reach you.
Yeah. Fred Petito at Attain Leadership, attainleadership.com, on LinkedIn, on Facebook.
And if we do want to reach out to you, offer initial consultation to the individual, to the corporation, or how does that work? Do you book a session? And you're based out of where again?
Yeah, we're in New York, but we were, obviously able to support
but
markets far and wide.
Worldwide. Got it. Perfect. Just want to make sure. All right.
Well, probably, the northern hemisphere, or we may not, certain markets we're probably a little bit out of reach for time zones, but Yes, we're pretty flexible.
All right. What else did you want to share about the power of team coaching? There's still so much more to get us that better end result for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the things that we were just talking about, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think teams are such like it's just leadership, right? If you're leading an organization, if you're a president or a managing director or a CEO, there are things you need to do to set your team up for success. And it's the same thing for team lead. This is why leadership is so important, not just for the big dogs in the top of the organization. And everybody has an opportunity to be a leader. And so the things that are important, right? The things that you need to focus on is aligning on a common purpose. What's the
Hmm.
team purpose? Where are we going? What are we
Yeah.
doing? Um, cultivating collaboration, making sure that there's a sense of psychological safety, that people feel that they can have a voice in the process. They're not just being told what to do. Um, and that cultivates this idea of collective leadership, right? So if you this silo mentality where it's like it's not my job, it's their job. That's not a winning situation. You want a collective sense of accountability, and teams that have these features, they're able deliver better results for the company. It's they drive more revenue, they get things done faster, they reduce conflict on the team, they have better, they're more innovative, they're more agile and responsive. So these are the things that um, make teams successful, and that's what coaching teams is all about, getting them to produce these kind of results for these organizations.
Now, for those new time listeners, I think it's always important just to reestablish a little bit about your background and what you do. If you are just tuning in, they may say, "Hey, oh, who's this guy? Oh, Attain Leadership. I hear what he's talking about, power of teams, but what are his credentials? Tell us about all you've done, if you don't mind."
Sure. Yeah. So I have about almost probably 25 years experience in marketing. I've been a C-level on a couple of occasions, and have had the good fortune of building and leading teams. I've mostly worked in large global organizations, marketing services organizations, supporting Fortune 50 clients. So I've done a lot of work in healthcare, pharma, life sciences, also technology, financial services, you name it. So I've worked with, the top name Pfizer's and the Microsofts and Citibanks. So big companies. And I think the advantage of working on the services side of the business is you get to see so many different organizations, and you get to see how the different leadership styles, different organizational approaches work or don't work. So that diversity of experience, I think, is very, very effective. I started out. I was a lawyer. I went to law school. I practiced law for 3 years, and then I worked in consulting for about 4 years during the dot-com period, working for one of those high-flying digital strategy firms, and have worked since then in big marketing services companies. And I've been predominantly in a strategy role, marketing strategy role, but like I said, I've had the good fortune of being a department head multiple times and chief strategy officer multiple times, and that experience I think really helped, both on the kind of strategic side of the house, which is how do you approach a problem, how do you solve a problem, how do you implement a solution to a problem, and also on the leadership side, because I've done team leadership and built teams. I think it's a really good, compelling combination. I trained in executive leadership coaching at the College of Executive Coaching, and I have a doctorate in marketing. So my area of expertise is kind of in marketing because that's my background. And there's a lot of unique, a lot of these team coaching could be any technology, it could be finance, it could be any cross-functional team. But I focus on marketing because I believe the challenges on marketers are unique, and they're different. And especially at this point in time, marketing is really, in the last 3-4 years, been propelled, I believe, to a little bit more of a strategic place in a lot of organizations, just because I think COVID was just a major accelerant, and put marketing on the front lines of a lot of a lot of organizations that are now more customer centric, right? And companies have been talking about being customer centric for decades, and I think they finally are making the changes to their organization and their priorities to do that. So I think that marketing has been elevated. So I think it's a really important time to be working with marketing leaders.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for that. And, obviously today the topic of working with teams, and since you've had so many years and a successful business owner and what you've done for so many companies, could you share some stories of your working with teams and how that's added to the success of not only the individuals, but the group and then the
Yeah.
company overall? I know you got great stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the projects I referenced was this is an agency, mid-sized agency, probably about 150 to 200 people, and they had 6 teams, 6 functions, kind of reporting into one person, and this is everything from social media, search, analytics, technology, and they were all working, as part of a team, but there was no, these teams were kind of cobbled together by executive leadership, but there was no plan to help them or set them up so they would work well together. So you think about it, you had, and there was some mergers and acquisitions in the background over the years. So you had different cultures, different skill sets, different expectations, all kind of now expected to work together. So, what we did is designed a custom team coaching and development program. It really focused on 2 things, right? There's 2 pieces to it. Number one is focusing first on the relational part, because no matter how good your process or people are, if you don't have good relationships and trust, you're not going to get anywhere. So we first focused on, coaching workshops and individual and team coaching with the directors to address any relational issues, which there were quite a few. So once you were able to get through those relational challenges and build that trust and that sense of camaraderie and collaboration, once we got that at least, I'll say stabilized and a point where we could move forward, then we dealt with the team development issues, which is the process, the people, the process, the systems. So that's kind of the way I like to approach team coaching, is focus on the people, the human, the group dynamic of it first. And that is often could be very thorny. And then you could deal with, okay, well, now do we at least have a baseline of trust and respect, and a sense of shared commitment? How do we now organize and align around a common, vision and system of getting things done? So that's kind of the 1-2 formula.
And from here, oh my goodness, I don't know how the time goes so quickly. It's 11:59. Well, Eastern Standard Time for those on our time, but we have 2 minutes left in the show. Wow. So in closing, how did you kind of want to sum up today about team coaching and the work that you do for our listeners? Wow, goes so quick.
Yeah. No, I think that I'm a big believer, having worked in industry for over nearly 25 years, and having worked with executive coaches myself in the past. I'm a big believer in coaching as a great way to help executives, leaders to kind of think more objectively about what they're doing and identify areas to improve performance, right? And the same thing could be said for teams. And I actually think many times the challenges that teams have are more complex than an individual executive's challenge. And then solving it I think is harder work. Yeah, because you have, it's times 4 or 5 or 6 or however many people I have on the team. And so if you are, if you're leading a team, or if you're a project manager, or mid-level manager, or chief executive officer, if you feel that there are opportunities to improve the performance of a team in your organization or a team that you're leading, love to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Remind us how we can reach out to you, please.
AttainLeadership.com. Fred at Attain Leadership is my email, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here. Great to see you here on Zoom, and ignore the voicemail I left you before.
Will do.
Great. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy. I think we're having a little bit of a heat wave, right? Coming soon. They're talking it's going to be a little hot,
It's
right?
kind of hot right now, for sure.
We got this. We got AC right now. Well, you have a fantastic day, and we'll talk soon, okay? Thanks so much. And to all of our listeners, please stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you. More of the show is coming right up.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.